when I hear a woman constantly trying to prove that she's just so authoritative instead of just simply walking in her authority, it's just like there's something that you're trying to protect, or you don't feel safe, or you don't feel heard, you don't feel seen, so you're trying to make sure other people know who the heck you are. And one thing about being a gentle woman and a softer woman is that there's authority in that. Hey beautiful, welcome to the Such a Woman podcast. I am your host, Gail Pasco, and over here we like to explore womanhood and femininity through the lens of faith. If it is your desire to become the woman of your dreams and to glorify God at the same time, then make sure you hit that subscription button and turn on your bell notifications to know when I post weekly. Let's go ahead and get into this video. So you want to be the woman who is more gentle and has a softer demeanor, but you don't really know how to stop acting so hard and being so aggressive. I'm going to give you some tips on ways that you're able to soften up, not feel as though people are going to be able to take advantage of you, and learn how to allow yourself to simply rest in your femininity. One of the most important things for us to understand when it comes to femininity, being gentle, being softer, womanhood in general, it does not mean that you have to be a passive person. This also does not mean that people should be able to do whatever they want to do to you. It also does not mean that you will not have a voice. Being a gentle woman means that you are allowing yourself to show up in grace, in understanding, in poise, in confidence, and ultimately in the beauty of your womanhood. Womanhood is an essence. Womanhood is a position. Womanhood is a powerful tool if you understand how to operate by God's design for your life. So we're going to talk about embodying elegance, the importance of emotional intelligence, and how to be resilient without hardening who you are. One of the most beautiful things that you can do for yourself is find the flow in your softness. Many times we'll hear people speak about finding balance between being strong and being soft, but I want to give you another way to look at it. And one thing I do for myself is simply allow myself to flow in my softness, which means I'm not trying to balance things out. I'm simply wanting to flow in who I am. And this allows me to understand that in my softness, there is still strength. When you feel like being soft means that you're a pushover, or you're a punk, or that you become a target for people to just treat you any type of way, naturally you will try to harden yourself so that you don't get hurt. It's natural for us to not want to be abused, to not be misused, to put up protective measures so that people cannot take advantage of us, or so that life's experiences do not destroy us. When you allow yourself to simply flow in your womanhood, in your femininity, in your gentle strength, then you'll find that you have so much more strength in that place. And I share this often. I was once at a place where I did not want to cry. I didn't want to show a lot of emotions because I felt like if I was to do that, people would take advantage of me being softer, or me being vulnerable, or me being delicate and fragile in that moment. And so I made a vow that nobody would be able to take advantage of me. And I stopped crying for so many years. I stopped allowing myself to really feel, and instead I would turn to other measures in order to get my feelings out. Sex, relationships, things that just were not helping me, not realizing that I had hardened myself and I hardened my heart. And it really took for the love of God to really begin to work on my heart so that it could be pliable again. But when you are so focused on not being taken advantage of, you will not allow yourself to be softer. And so one of the keys to being more elegant is allowing yourself to be softer. I know when we speak about elegance, sometimes we talk about, having your back straight and having your head held high and having your heels on, your lipstick, and all of these things that people can see outwardly. But elegance is an inside job. Elegance begins inwardly first because it has to be partnered with grace. As a woman, and I'm going to say this so many times on this video, being a graceful woman really does set the stage for you to be able to live in that softness. Being a woman who understands that grace was extended to you allows you to extend grace to other people. When you are able to extend grace to other people, it means that you have a level and a measure of understanding. It also takes you into emotional intelligence, and this allows you to become more resilient in nature nature without hardening yourself. So when you have emotional intelligence, when you have understanding, when you have grace, then you deal with people from a state of mercy. And it puts you in a position to where you are not trying to prove anything to anyone, and you're not forcing anyone to prove anything to you. You begin to flow in your life with your boundaries. You uphold your boundaries, you uphold your standards, and because you honor your boundaries and your standards, you can let the walls down that are intended to make you hard and keep a intentional guard up that allows you to still be vigilant, right? Not ignorant, you're still vigilant, you're still understanding, you are still willing to work with people, but you do it within the measures and the confines of your boundaries and the standards that you have set. When you have boundaries and when you have standards, this means that you have a level of emotional intelligence. People who do not have emotional intelligence are not going to honor their own boundaries, and they're not going to honor anybody else's boundaries. They're going to live however. They'll probably blame a lot. They usually act as though they're always victims, or they are making victims of other people. And when you are learning to become a more gentle woman, this means you're learning to take responsibility for your actions, the things that you do to other people, and the things that you allow people to do to you. I'm not saying that people won't, try to sideswipe you sometimes, and it may take you off guard, like, dang, why the heck would you do something like that to me? But once that happens, you then make the emotionally intelligent move to say, okay, you got me like that one time. Now I'm going to put this standard in place or this boundary in place so that you know to never cross me like that again. This does not mean that you have to become hardened in nature. You still allow yourself to remain in a soft, gentle, and pliable state, but that boundary becomes that hard wall that people can't get past. The importance of all of this is to allow your boundaries to speak for you so that you don't have to harden yourself. Allow your boundaries to be hard and founded in a place where they're not moved, and allow your heart to remain soft and pliable. However, in allowing your heart to remain soft and pliable, you are built on a firm foundation, on the word of God, on the standard he sets for your life, on his intentions for you. And when you're able to do this, life just can't take you anywhere. We become hard when we feel like life is just having its, not life. I don't like to say life because God is life, and God is not doing whatever with us. But when experiences in life are just handling us. I did a podcast episode a few weeks ago on not having to be handled by your man. You shouldn't feel like you're being handled by life. You should be handling your life. You know what I mean? You should be living in such a way that you know that things are happening around you, but inside of you, you're secure. Inside of you, you are emotionally sound. Inside of you, you are stable. Inside of you, you are in control of what happens and what does not happen. So you're not easily moved by the ebbs and flows of life because you are flowing with God in the design that he has created you and established you in. I often speak to women who talk about wanting to become softer, but they often have excuses as to why they can't become softer because they don't want people to treat them like little punks. And when you feel like you are being punked or you're going to be punked, you are not going to allow yourself to let the walls down, and you will always have a wall around your heart. The Bible speaks about guarding our hearts. We're supposed to guard our heart, but we're not supposed to have a wall around our hearts. We're also not supposed to harden our hearts. Our hearts are supposed to be softened because they need to be pliable. They should be able to receive, and they should be able to allow things to flow out. And I always say, as a woman who is truly living in her feminine essence and her God-given womanly design, you have to be able to receive as a woman. If you cannot receive, that means that something deeper is going on. If you're not able to receive help, who disappointed you? If you're not able to receive compliments, who tore you down? If you're not able to receive understanding from other people, if you're not able to receive money, if you're not able to receive gifts, if you're not able to receive quality time from other people, something is going on that you really want to sit with the Lord on and figure out what's taking place in the depth of your heart. Because a feminine woman, a gentle woman, a soft woman has to be able to receive. You cannot be gentle with other people if you're hard with yourself, and you won't allow other people to be gentle with you if you are hard all the time. If people try to connect with you and you push them away, something in you has hardened. If people want to gift you and you don't feel deserving of simply being gifted, something is going on within your heart. And it doesn't mean you have to accept everything that people try to give to you. But say, for instance, somebody says, hey, you know what? I just wanted to give you this. And the first thing out of your mouth is, well, why? It's not my birthday. I didn't do anything for you. What's the motive here? You're constantly looking for like ill motives, ulterior motives from other people. Why? Why is that? Are you feeling like you're not worthy of just simply receiving something just because? Or do you not gift yourself? Or are you a person who always has ulterior motives towards other people? Remember in the beginning, I said, being a gentle woman means you need to take responsibility for your life and for your actions. And you have to be real with yourself. It's possible that you see people in a negative light because you see yourself in a negative light. So you expect other people to be you to you when you're being that to yourself. And now, because you're that to yourself, you draw those same types of people. So when a genuine person does come along and they do try to treat you in a gentle nature as a soft woman that they perceive you and know that you can be, you think that they're coming to get over on you, so you stay hard and you don't allow anybody in. Right? There's so much to this because it really does require healing. Everything I'm speaking about means that you have to heal. When you're always in fight or flight mode, or you're always in a place of freezing, you do not allow yourself to connect with people, places, or things in the way that God desires for you to. You do not allow yourself to enjoy life. And one of the keys to being a gentle woman is enjoying life, enjoying yourself, because that allows you and opens the doors for you to enjoy other people. How you treat yourself is how you're going to treat others and how you're going to expect others to treat you, which oftentimes opens the doors to abusers. When you don't see yourself as a woman that is fragile, that is delicate, that is softer, that is able to be gentle, then you will draw people to abuse you because you don't see yourself as someone that is worth taking care of. When I picture God giving me to my husband, I picture him placing me as this most fragile and delicate being in his hand. I see him literally holding my heart from God's hand and placing it in my husband's hand in such a delicate way because he understands how fragile I am and how soft I am. And he didn't just take me and just throw me in my husband's hand like this, and my husband closed his hand like this and just, handled me any type of way. He gave my husband instructions with me. He showed him my design. He revealed to him my sensitivities. And because of that, my husband handles me extremely well. But if you expect people to handle you rough and aggressively, then you will become aggressive and you will become rough and you will harden yourself in that hand because it's not safe. You don't feel safe. So another key to being a gentle woman is putting yourself in safe environments, not in spaces where people are going to take advantage of you, intentionally try to take advantage of you, or misuse you and mishandle you, belittle you. You know what I mean? You put yourself in places where you're honored, where you are adored, where you are loved, where you are looked up to, where you are poured into, where you are regarded as a gentle woman. One thing about this podcast, being such a woman, I really want you to understand the type of woman that you are. And it really does take some introspection. It requires you sit down with yourself and say, okay, how have I been showing up in the world? How have I been allowing people to treat me? Am I allowing people to manhandle me? Am I expecting people to misuse me? Am I misusing myself? And if so, why is that the case? What is really going on internally? This may require you to go sit and get therapy, to get counseling, to be amongst other people so that you can see how women flow in their femininity, and also see how some women may be flowing in masculine ways and things that you don't want to do. One thing that really helped me to begin taking care of my body, my mind, the way I showed up, the way I presented myself, not just to the world, but even in my home, was looking at the actions of other women and seeing things that I did not want to do. And you can learn a lot from a fool, but it does not mean you surround yourself with foolish individuals. Being called a fool, it can sound really disrespectful, but if you're not walking as a wise woman, you're walking as a foolish woman. And so in order to not become like the foolish, you need to sit with the wise. sit amongst women who are wise, who are elegant, who are feminine, who are softer, who are gentle, you realize they move differently. They're not so aggressive. They're not trying to prove to anyone who they are. They simply know who they are, and their actions speak for themselves. When I hear an aggressive woman, I hear women who are constantly like proving themselves. Oh, I'm the wife in here. Nobody's going to tell me what to do up in this house. Happy wife, happy life. And you better listen to me. I have the authority. I like to be around other alpha women. When I hear the term alpha woman, y'all, when I hear the term alpha man, it's just like, you don't have to say that. Be who you are. You don't have to keep announcing all that because it just shows up in your actions. But when I hear the term alpha woman, it really grinds my gears. I don't even know how to explain it to y'all. Like, it does something. It's just like, why? When I hear a woman constantly trying to prove that she's just so authoritative instead of just simply walking in her authority, it's just like, there's something that you're trying to protect, or you don't feel safe, or you don't feel heard, you don't feel seen. So you're trying to make sure other people know who the heck you are. And one thing about being a gentle woman and a softer woman is that there's authority in that. There's so much authority in being gentle. There's so much authority in being a woman. There's so much authority in being feminine. There's so much authority in elegance. I don't think people understand how rooms shift when a woman who knows herself steps into that space. When you know who you are and when you understand how you've been designed and you're not trying to prove yourself to anyone, when you step into a place, things just simply mellow out. They begin to align. And something that may happen on the back end is that feathers get ruffled and tables begin to shake because some people may not have come into that understanding or that intelligence of who they are. Like, oh, who she thinks she is. I think and I know that I'm the woman that God designed me to be. But who do you think you are? Because if you knew who you were, you wouldn't be low-key measuring yourself against me. Gentle women possess such an authority, a God-given authority that is able to shift rooms and atmospheres without doing too much. And it doesn't mean that you don't have a voice, as I stated before. It doesn't mean that you don't speak up. It doesn't mean that you have to be walking around in prissy red and pink dresses and wearing bright red lipstick. It means that you understand that you don't have to be moved by everything and everyone around you, and you don't have to conform to the rooms that you step in. You step into rooms to transform them. There are times that you go to events and you may not be the speaker or the person of the hour, but your presence still demands some type of alignment in that space. And you'll find that people will come and speak to you and just want to get to know you because of the power that they feel emanating through you. God gave us as women He created such a beautiful essence within us. And unfortunately, when we harden ourselves, that essence isn't able to flow out. The love of God doesn't flow out. The wisdom of God doesn't flow out. The understanding of God doesn't flow out. The kindness, literally the fruits of the spirit become stifled and they don't grow. We become like trees that are just there and they get cursed to die because they're not living at their full capacity. They're not being fruitful. They are not a place where people can come and get life. I believe as gentle women, we are able to give life to situations and to people and to things that have died or feel or seem like they're dead. When you allow yourself to be gentle, your caress is different. Your speech is different. Your mind is different. The way that you deal with people is so different. You don't step into places feeling like you have to prove that you're allowed to be there, that you should be there, because you know that God sent you there in your feminine authority. There's so much favor I receive from both men and women simply because of the way I carry myself. And so you want to carry yourself with poise and elegance. And in order to do that, you really have to start doing the work. Sit with the Lord and ask him, what is holding you back from being softer? What fears do you have? A lot of this can be pinpointed back to fears. Where are you not understanding yourself? Who took advantage of you? Why Why do you feel like it's easier to show up in the world as a hard woman rather than a softer woman? How can you be more gentle? And as the Lord begins to work with your heart, you will find that you start paying attention to the way you do things, learning to read spaces and how you need to show up in your most authentic self, so that one, you're not being conformed by the places you're going, you're transforming those places, but you're also showing up as a gentle woman, because your gentleness can transform lives if you allow it to. And so as you begin to navigate spaces, you'll realize, okay, as a gentle woman, I want to enjoy my life. Enjoying my life looks like first taking care of home. So you start to look throughout your home. This needs to be organized. This represents someone that I used to be. I don't want to be that woman anymore. Let me get rid of this. Let me build this relationship. Let me end this relationship. Let me have this conversation. Let me sit down with myself in silence. Let me see how my home looks and what I really want it to feel like. You begin to allow your life to look like and emanate womanhood. And when everything in your life looks like womanhood, it becomes romanticized. And when everything feels romantic, you can't help but to show up in your femininity. And you can't help to be softer, and you can't help to be more gentle. I think another misconception is that we think being soft and living a soft life is all about the aesthetic, but it's not just the aesthetic of things, it's who you are. And one thing I've learned is, as I do the work on myself internally and I partner with God and allow him to really work on me, everything outside of me changes. Everything has to stay clean. Everything has to be in order. I can't just show up in places looking any type of way. I can't just deal with people any type of way. I have to speak to them in a certain type of way. One, because I remember that as a woman of God, I want to glorify God in everything. And one of the biggest ways to glorify God is showing up in the beauty of womanhood. And in that, remembering that I have fruits of the Spirit that I want other people to be able to eat from. And when I show up in spaces, if I'm showing up with an attitude, that's not glorifying God. But when I have conversations with people who may be having a bad day, I'm not matching their energy. I'm going in and I'm saying, well, how are you doing? Hey, I noticed this. Are you okay? Because it's a level of compassion there. And I want to be gentle with everyone in my life. This does not mean that people get to take advantage of you. Again, that's where those boundaries come in. So if I notice that behaviors aren't changing or people are trying to take advantage, then we put a little wall up, because we're not doing that. And you have the authority and the responsibility to make sure you're not allowing anyone or anything to disrupt the peace and the essence of gentleness in your life. Be a woman who is at peace and allows God to really give her peace. Allow the Lord to be your peace. Allow yourself to give peace when you go somewhere. You don't want to be someone who is chaotic in nature. Being a gentle woman means you're not chaotic. You're not just doing things just to do things. You're not just handling life any type of way. But you learn to bring order to your life. You learn to be in a sound mind. You learn to destroy the negative thoughts that come against your mind. You learn to overcome your past. You learn to take responsibility of your life, and you learn to live in the beauty of where and who you are right now. I think about Esther. She's probably one of my favorite in the Bible, but I think about Esther, and something I love about her is when they speak about who she was and why she was so favored, she wasn't greedy. She wasn't trying to force herself to be seen. She wasn't aggressive. She just simply was herself. And it doesn't mean that you can't be bold. You can't be colorful. You can't show up in the way that you show up, but in that, you have control over your character, and what you bring to a space. And when you stand out amongst other women because of the beauty in your difference, you're favored. And I really do believe that gentle women are favored women because their life demands order and structure wherever they go. A gentle woman had to do work to become more gentle. Gentleness is a fruit of the Spirit. And there's no way that you just showed up and you're just like, some people are passive and some people just are fearful, so they don't speak up. That doesn't mean they're gentle, because if you tap them enough, that rage, that anger, the hatred, evil boldness will show up. But to become gentle in nature, it requires you to do work. And people may think you're passive. They learn real quick that you have self-control. Gentle women practice self-control. So I really do hope that this video was eye-opening and is jump-starting your journey on becoming more gentle in nature. I pray that you do the work to allow yourself to be softer so that you don't have to live as a hard woman, because that is so draining. It takes too much work to try to prove that people can't get over on you, or that you can't be taken advantage of, or that you are who you say you are. Simply show up as who you are and be comfortable in that, and trust God with your heart, and know that He will put you in the right places with the right people, and everyone who needs to understand who you are will understand. And most importantly, you won't have to lose yourself by connecting or stepping into different rooms or simply showing up in the world. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and turn on your bell notifications. I will talk to you next time. Remember, I love you and that you are her in real life.